With the recent information hitting that the Nintendo Wii U eShop and the 3DS eShop are going to close down, a lot of people have been talking, and rightfully so, about the Wii U, and that's great, because I think that is a console that just really got overlooked for a long time. But interestingly enough, not a lot of people right now are talking about this guy, the Nintendo 3DS. What's going on, everyone? I'm Jay, my channel Square Pegs. Hit that subscribe button down below if you're new around here. Do a couple videos a week talking about retro and modern gaming, and today we're talking about why this right here is my all-time favorite console. I won't say I was an early adopter of the 3DS technology. It was something that I looked at and felt was completely unnecessary because I loved the DS. And the reason I love the DS is because I saw the kind of brilliance behind it. Having two screens there, while that at first definitely seemed really gimmicky to me, we got DS development kits in at EA when I was working there, and it was something that I looked at and I went, well, this is pretty dumb. Why would they do that when they've got the GBA? But the clever gameplay that was inherent in what the DS offered made me a believer. I bought one the day it launched. I bought several throughout the years, and it was something that I just absolutely loved, and it's something that I never really felt was necessary to kind of update until I actually got my hands on a 3DS. I was working at a university down in Florida, and my friend Rob brought his in because he's a huge Street Fighter fan, and Street Fighter 4 released on the 3DS, and it was something that I looked at and I said, well, that's kind of gimmicky, that's pretty dumb. And he said, no, you gotta trust me, this thing's incredible, you gotta try this one out. And I did, and it was amazing. Like, it kind of blew my mind. The 3D technology in that top screen was amazing. It wasn't something that I think anyone had expected to work nearly as well as it did. Now, in the early days of the 3DS, it was something where you got what you got. It was, there were definite cases where if you moved your head at all or you had it at an angle and you couldn't see the screen straight on, chances are the 3D effect was pretty terrible. But that's where the new 3DS came in, and that's when we got the different camera tracking and stuff like that on the top screen where you were actually able to use the 3D at a lot of different angles, and it looked great. That said, not something I use terribly often. The 3D on it actually gave me a headache. It's kind of the same problem I have with VR. I can take it for about 5 minutes, and then I start feeling a little nauseous, I get headaches, and it's not for me, not something I can do. So, as much as I love my 3DS, the 3D stays off pretty much all the time. There's a ton of great games released on the 3DS. Now, not just stuff in physical release either. There's a lot of digital-only DS games. This is where I was first introduced to the SteamWorld series. SteamWorld Heist on the 3DS is magnificent. One of the best games I've ever played. An absolutely phenomenal gameplay experience. If you've never played SteamWorld Heist, it is absolutely worth picking up. It's actually on the Switch eShop now. It's brilliant, just trust me, it's a wonderful game. It's where I was introduced to Shovel Knight. It's where I was introduced to Cave Story. It was a home for a lot of independent developers to make their mark in the industry by proving that what they created mattered. And I think that was kind of incredible because that wasn't a position Nintendo had really taken before. Nintendo was very frequently walled off, and it was not a welcome place for independent developers to release things on. You had to be a big publisher to be able to release things for Nintendo. And with the 3DS, and to an extent the DS with DSware and DSiWare, it was kind of an advent for Nintendo to really kind of embrace independent development. And it is something we still see today. Like, the Switch is a haven for independent development, and it's absolutely fantastic. It's just a wonderful place for developers to go to be able to make a profit on their fantastic games. There's a lot of support from companies like Squaresoft and Capcom that released fantastic games on there. There was the Bravely Default series debuted on there, but Nintendo themselves released a ton of fantastic games on there as well. It's where I fell back in love with Fire Emblem and tactical strategy games, was because of being on the 3DS. We saw amazing re-releases of classic N64 games like Super Mario 64 DS, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Star Fox 64, all these fantastic games that were brought to new life because of the 3D implementation and what they were able to do. And these games just sing on the 3DS. It's a fantastic system, and I'm really gonna miss it, man. Like, and obviously I'm not getting rid of mine. It's something where I'm gonna continue to play it. I'm actually probably gonna buy a couple more just to have them socked away and be able to use them if anything goes wrong with this one. But it's something where I look at it, and it was really something special about the industry at that time and how creative people were able to get with the 3DS. And a lot of that stems from what was happening on the Wii at the time, and a lot of that has continued to move forward to what we're seeing on the Switch. But that 3DS and DS era where we saw these unbelievably creative implementations of touch controls and using the microphone to control things really brought forth a lot in the industry, and I think we're better off because of it. Now, this isn't going to be a video where I'm saying you need to rush out and purchase these games on the 3DS eShop before they go away. That's not what this is about. I just wanted to kind of talk about the 3DS and why I love it so much and some of my favorite games on it, because there is a ton of quality content. You know, some of my favorite memories on the 3DS are, this was the console that my son first played. He discovered his love of Pokemon pretty early. And we bought him a 2DS for, I want to say, his 5th birthday. One of the wedge ones, the classic door stoppers. And he played just so much Pokemon. He loves it to this day. Like, Pokemon is his thing. He's 13 now, and he played a ton of Pokemon X and Y and Sword and Shield and Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Like, if it had the name Pokemon on it and it was a core Pokemon game, he was all about it. Like, he knows those games inside and out. And I remember giving him his 2DS for his birthday and just watching him light up, because it was something important to him and it was something he wanted to play, and he wanted to have his own game console, and the 2DS was it. And we've upgraded since then. He's got the 3DS that released with Sword and Shield, and yeah, like, it was a big deal to him, and that's something I'll never forget. And another thing we always did is every New Year's Eve, my wife and I, our friend Corey, would stay up and we would ring in the New Year in Animal Crossing New Leaf. We would get on our 3DSs, we'd watch the countdown. We're not partiers, we don't like to go out for New Year's, or if we did, we would go to like a tiny hole in the wall bar and have our 3DSs with us, and we would ring in the New Year that way, and go to each other's towns and just have fun that way. And it was something that really meant a lot, and it's a positive memory, and it's something that, I mean, yeah, we do that with the Switch too, and it's stuff that we can still do there, but I will always remember, huddling together on the couch or in the living room and talking about, what we're going to do for the new year because of what we were playing at the time. And Fire Emblem Fates, Birthright, and Conquest are incredible, absolutely wonderful tactical strategy games. I love the Fire Emblem series anyway, so I'm kind of partial to these no matter what, but I really think there was something special in these games where we're kind of seeing where the series was drifting and what we see now with Fire Emblem Three Houses. This is a game where choices mattered, and you were able to kind of influence the way things happened and make decisions that impacted the game's outcome. And you definitely see that in Three Houses now with the different recruitment aspects and things like that you're able to do. And it really made a lot of improvements and a lot of just, quality of life changes for the series that are paying off in dividends on the Switch. Not to be overlooked is Square Enix releasing the Dragon Quest games on there, and Dragon Quest VII is magnificent, and just talk about taking advantage of what this system could do. You took a game that was originally released on the PlayStation 2, I want to say, and you made it fit on a cartridge. Like, that's absolutely insane to me that you were able to take this absolutely massive world-spanning game and get it to work on a cartridge. That's pretty incredible. Shantae was amazing on the 3DS as well, specifically Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. Absolutely magical game. Fantastic thing that has moved forward again onto the Switch. You see that a lot with 3DS games are moving forward and are just used as a normal console game, but having it on the 3DS, you actually got some menu implementation on the bottom screen and some touch controls and things like that, which is really cool, but it played so well. You can really see it harken back to its Game Boy Color roots, and it's really kind of wonderful. Like I mentioned at the top, Shovel Knight is something that I discovered first on the 3DS, and I have bought multiple times since, and if it's offered again on future iterations of Nintendo hardware, I will probably buy it again as well. Mario and Luigi saw a return on the 3DS with some extra features added. Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga plus Bowser's Minions is awesome. Absolutely fantastic gameplay that was originally experienced on the Game Boy Advance is brought forward onto the 3DS with added gameplay features with Bowser's Minions. Look, the Mario and Luigi games, to me, are the spiritual ancestors of Super Mario RPG on the SNES, and I think this is it's such a good game, and there are so many great RPGs on the 3DS. Like, that's kind of what it was made for to me. Like, there's some good action games, don't get me wrong, but the 3DS was made for RPGs and tactical games, and Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga and Bowser's Minions is one of them. It's an absolutely beautiful game, so much fun to play, and I also really like Mario and Luigi Paper Jam. I think that is just... Talk about mixing fantastic worlds. The Mario and Luigi RPG and bringing in Paper Mario and having those 3D battles with those giant paper form enemies is just magnificent. Like, the game is so much fun to play, and it's so well made and so well put together that it's something that I want to say it was offered for a huge discount. Like, it's one of the few games I actually own strictly digitally on the 3DS just because it was something that was like so cheap on the eShop one day and I had to pick it up. It's so much fun. Metroid Samus Returns is an absolutely magnificent game. It does so much, and it really, again, paints the picture for what we ended up seeing with Metroid Dread. This does so much so well. And you see what Mercury Steam is capable of doing by making their own game and doing their own creation with Metroid Dread. Like, they took something that was originally on the Game Boy, they plussed it up for the 3DS and made magic. We get that now on the Switch. And finally, I think probably my favorite 3DS game is this guy right here, A Link Between Worlds. This is magic. Like, I love A Link to the Past. A Link to the Past is probably my favorite Zelda game, but this one right here does so much so well, and it's really close to Link to the Past for me. This is probably my second favorite Zelda game. I think from a visual perspective, it's absolutely magnificent, and the gameplay in the game, to be able to flatten yourself on the walls and move around and find yourself in different aspects of the dungeons and things like that is just... It's such a strong game and does so much so well. I love the 3DS. It's it's something that I'm never going to forget, something I'll never get rid of, and it is my favorite Nintendo console ever. Like, it's, for me, I love the Switch, don't get me wrong, I love the Super Nintendo, but the 3DS is number one for me. It is by far my most played Nintendo console. Like, not even close. Nothing comes close to it. Like, the Switch is probably second right now, but just on my Zelda one here, and I've had a few other 3DSs as well. But just on this Zelda one, I've got over 1,000 hours played on it. And it's... I know to a lot of you, those are rookie numbers. You got to pump those numbers up. But, like, it's probably closer to 3,000 or 4,000 hours based on every other system I've had for the 3DS. Yeah, it's just... I love the 3DS. And I think a lot of you do too. And I think the shop shutting down is that final nail in the coffin, where I look at it and I say, well, that's too bad, but it's time to move on. It's time to put all our focus on the Switch. And hey, if there's something on here that I've suggested that you want to check out, go grab it from the eShop before it shuts down. And let me know in the comments below what your favorite eShop games are, or what your favorite 3DS games are, because I'd love to pick them up before prices skyrocket, because that's going to happen real soon. You're actually starting to see that with the Wii U already. If you want to see some stuff about Wii U collecting, go check out Mr. Rightway's channel. He's done some fantastic Wii U collection videos. He's actually going for a full set, and seeing his exploits of his ability to trade up and get all these hard-to-find games on the Wii U is fantastic. He's amazing. My friend Mike actually has a full Wii U set, and he's it's pretty damn cool to see. Like, he's got everything, and every time he thinks he's done, someone releases something new on it, and he has to go back and buy it. But it's it was really impressive to see, and I remember when he completed it for the first time. And, ever since, it's been like, with Just Dance or something like that, so it's real easy to get a hold of. But I remember when he completed it for the first time, just that, because he's such a huge Nintendo fan, and he loved the Wii U so much, to see him so proud to complete that collection was awesome. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below what 3DS games I need to check out, what your favorites are, which ones people should add to their collection now, again, before prices go up. Please hit like, please subscribe if you're new around here and you happen to be a huge 3DS fan like I am. And hey, if you really dig the work I do, consider becoming a monthly Patreon sponsor like the wonderful people you're seeing on right now. For a donation as little as $1 a month, patrons get early access to our videos. They are ad-free, and they get their names in the end credits. Until next time, folks, I've been Jay. I appreciate you spending a little bit of time with me today as I look back at my all-time favorite Nintendo console, the 3DS. Remember to play more games, stay square, and take care. I'll talk to you soon.